Okay. Welcome, everybody. We thank you all so much for joining in today for the Bean Path Tech Office Hours presentation, featured presentation. And today we have Warren Wilson, engineer, author, and artist. He's also a fellow Bulldog, Mississippi State, and a Jacksonian. And so we definitely appreciate having him here today. How you doing today, Warren?
Hey, I'm doing great. I appreciate you for having me.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So, if in case those of you who don't know, we do this every second Saturday. You can check the BeanPath website for more information. Today's presentation is going to be on multiple financial revenue streams. And so I'm going to hand it over to Warren and feel free to take off. And also, please remember, we are live on various platforms. If you have questions, feel free to put your questions in there. We'll make sure we get them over, and if you're in the actual Zoom, you can put your questions in the Q&A section, and we'll make sure that we get those answered today. And he has already informed us that we are, more than welcome to ask questions throughout. So definitely don't hesitate to put those questions in there. All right, I'm handing it over to you, Warren.
I appreciate you. Um, Good afternoon, everybody. I will be featured today on the Bean Path talking about how to diversify your income streams. Pretty much what we'll talk about is a few routes or a few examples that you could go as far as taking your main source of income, which is usually our job, and just different ways to diversify it, or different areas to spread that money out in, so that you kind of don't hold it all in one place, because we know that the dollar is basically decreasing every day. The value of the dollar is decreasing by the second, and the money needs a good home. So, the extra disposable income you have, it needs a good home where it's not going to die, but hopefully it's going somewhere to keep living and or to grow or multiply. So let me share the screen real quick. Um, Went ahead and put together a brief presentation.
We love presentations. Thank you for having that.
No problem, no problem. I thought it'd be better to kind of have a visual.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So, all right, so yeah, diversifying income streams. So let's start off with one that we all kind of know about, maybe not too much about, but real estate. So real estate is basically the purchasing of land, properties, and that could be rental properties, commercial properties, houses, buildings, apartment buildings, duplexes, what have you. So this is one route that you can go as far as investing your money and trying to diversify your main income stream. So let's say at the end of the month, or the end of the year, you did pretty well at saving. You were putting a good bit of money to the side. You're dropping some in your 401k. You got that emergency nest egg. But let's say you got some disposable money left over. So, real estate might be a route you want to go. You may want to look into, maybe a single family home that you would be able to handle the payments on, and put a down payment on, or maybe there's some land in a growing area that you could go, purchase, or maybe, invest in with a partner. And then that way, when you're setting that money into land or into a building or into a home, of course, you still have to do your homework as far as if that area is probably due for appreciation over the next 10 years, or if it's growing, or if people are moving there. But at the same time, it's usually a pretty good safe haven for your money to go to keep growing, because inflation is happening every year, really by the month at this point. So, you want to have your extra money, or your money that you're kind of storing away, you want it in a safe place. And real estate is just, it's one of those well-known, kind of safe haven examples. So, um, and it can be capital heavy as far as trying to buy properties or buildings or things like that. So you can always start small. And what I mean is small is you could most cities have like a land bank where they sell properties that have been seized, whether it be land, lots, even some duplexes or buildings, or single family homes that may need some work, but you're able to get them at rates that you wouldn't imagine. Sometimes you can see things, 40, 50% under the value that it's probably actually worth. But at that point, the city's just trying to get rid of it and, trying to make it, get back to the point of being fruitful and, supplying that property tax for the city because, they definitely want those property tax dollars. So, yeah, I mean, there are just multiple options you can go because it can be, like I said, in a capital heavy kind of expensive investment vehicle, but you can always start small. You could always, go that route as far as looking into your whatever city you're in, looking into their inner listings for their land, like their land bank, where they post these inexpensive properties and you know land buying opportunities. You'll be quite surprised. Even here in Memphis, I've seen lots go for $50, $50, $100. That's less than a pair of Jordans. So I mean, there's it's getting to the point where there's really no excuse not to try to get into owning some land or some real estate or a lot or something that can be appreciated as these years go by and as we keep working. Um, so yeah, so I go to my this is probably one of my favorites ways to diversify your income, but that'll be stocks. So the stock market, can't remember the year it was created, but the U.S. basically put it together to give everyday working people basically a chance to invest in these bigger companies without taking on the high risk of starting your own company and hiring employees or what have you. So with stocks, what you're able to do is you can kind of picture it as if let's take one company, let's divide that company into 100 pieces. So with stocks, a stock is basically you're buying, one of those pieces, one of those 100 pieces of that company. And the beauty in that is that if there's a company that's already growing, it's well known, their marketing is on point, they're beating their previous year's gross every year. They're constantly growing, let's say 9 to 15% a year, that gives you the chance to basically invest in that company. You can buy a piece of that company, and as they grow, you grow. So as you invest your dollar, you know, as the years go on, as that company gets better, as their system gets better, as their operations get more efficient, as they make more money, you're growing along with them. Your bank account can grow along with them and experience that same growth that that company is experiencing. So it's a rather good opportunity to grow your money. To kind of just instead of just storing it away at times. Stocks can be a very good route. And another thing about stocks is that, well, not all companies offer this, but some stocks give out what we call a dividend. So a dividend is basically almost as if it's almost like a reward or a paycheck that the company gives you for owning stock in that company. So if you own a share, usually companies will give out dividends every quarter. So let's say you're promised a 1% dividend. So if you had $100 in, you could be expecting to get $1 every quarter. Which at the same time, if you just sat that $100 in your drawer or under your mattress, it wouldn't have made any money. So it's still a good way to kind of build a passive income as far as with dividends. And so that's usually something that a lot of I'll say middle-aged people more so, they love to have high dividend stocks in their portfolio account because usually they're steadily growing and they're steadily kind of giving them a consistent paycheck, if you will. And what they usually do is take those dividends and reinvest them and buy more shares and just keep the cycle going. You want to just keep the cycle going. So yeah, if stocks is a route you want to go, look into dividends. That may make you make that move even sooner. And so I'm going to get into another one, another stock. And it's usually the stocks that people like to go long term on, and that are your blue chip stocks. Blue chip stocks, that's more of a nickname, but blue chips basically are your bigger companies, your Apple, your Tesla, your Nike, companies that aren't going anywhere. Companies that are going to be around for the next 40 to 50 years. Companies that are getting better every year, every month. They're steadily crushing goals. They're hiring more people. They're getting bigger. They're going global. these companies aren't going anywhere. So blue chip stocks are very good because most of the time they do supply a dividend, which is, like I said, can be a nice passive income coming in every quarter. The more that you invest, and investing $100, you might not see good returns, but over 10, 20 years, once you get to, you've invested 10 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand, 1% gains, 2% gains, that's a lot. That can really kind of have a snowball effect. So, the best thing is to just start early. But a lot of people like blue chips because, their charts usually show a sign of growth. They show that they're consistently growing. The numbers prove it. So a lot of people feel safe to put their money into those blue chip stocks because, it's pretty much a safe bet. It's a safe bet they're going to keep growing. And another thing that a lot of my investing friends like to do is use blue chip stocks as a savings account, in a sense, because we're going to talk about savings, high yield savings a little bit later, but the fact that you can kind of look at the charts and see that some, these blue chip companies are growing like excessively. It's like if the bank is giving you, 1% or less than 1% return per year on your money, why not put that same money into a blue chip stock? Whereas while Apple is steadily growing, adding products, making their footprint larger, that, you could be saving that money basically by buying shares of Apple. The same money that you would have saved, you could just buy shares of Apple or a blue chip stock, whereas that money would probably grow faster than it would sitting in a bank account, in a savings account with the APY that they're going to give you. So, that's definitely always a good option when it comes to stocks. And, you don't have to, a lot of people don't like the risk of stocks. I get the volatility. It can be up one day, down tomorrow. But that's why you check out the charts. You don't want to just look at the charts of today or tomorrow. Look at the charts of what they've done over the last 5 years, 10 years. Look at the numbers. See if it proves growth. See if it proves, that they're expanding, and let that kind of, I guess, guide your decision as far as, your stock investing. So, like I said, a few examples of some blue chip stocks would be Apple, Google, Amazon, American Express, just these big companies that aren't going anywhere anytime soon.
Hey, Warren, I have a question along the lines of that. So I've seen this article that says, so I was in the market for a new car earlier this year, and I was looking at the Tesla. Then I read this article that said you might as well just buy Tesla stock with that money that you're going to spend. Some Teslas can get up to, depending on which one you get, like 70K, 90K. And they said you might as well buy the stock. And they actually did a comparison, and it showed how much more money you would have versus spending that 90K going down the drain. Could you expand a little bit on that?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that what they're getting at is the depreciation, because, like you said, if that car is 70 grand, let's say you got to go in and put 5K down, and you're steadily paying on that car. That 70 grand car within 6 months is probably worth 65, 62, because you're driving it, you're putting wear and tear on its parts, you put in miles on the engine, and it's depreciated. So just like you said, you could really take that same. You probably are safer putting that same money into the stock, because as they sell more cars, as their footprint gets bigger, as they add more products, they're going to continue to grow. So that money you invested into their stocks or whatever, it could probably grow into 6,000 or 7,000, before the year is out, opposed to, it going into that car and you're steadily paying down that balance of something that's actually losing value at the same time. So I could totally agree. It's probably worth more to invest into the Tesla stock, even though I am a fan of Tesla. Invest into the stock rather than the car. It's probably a safer decision to go that route.
Yep, got you.
Definitely. And so, yeah, so not only are blue chip stocks a good route to go, but ETFs. ETFs are one of the most, in my opinion, slept on options when it comes to stocks. And so an ETF is basically, you've heard the term, not putting all your eggs into one basket. And so that's how you can kind of think of an ETF. An ETF is almost like a group of stocks. So let's say, all right, you have $1,000. You don't feel safe. All right, I don't want to put my whole 1,000 into Apple. I don't want to put my whole 1,000 into Google. I don't want to put my whole 1,000 into Amazon. So a route you can go is you can explore ETFs. And so ETFs are basically what it allows you to do is to buy one share of an ETF, while at the same time in that ETF is multiple companies. So let's give an example. One ETF could contain Apple, Google, Amazon, and Nike at the same time. It could be one ETF. So that in that case, I could buy one share of that ETF, and my one share represents all those companies. So when I buy a share of that ETF, let's say Google goes down tomorrow. Well, since I bought the ETF, I bought a piece of not only Google, but Apple, Nike, and Tesla. So I'm still safe. I still have 3 companies in that ETF that I bought that are still doing well. And what it allows is, that allows a little stability, against the volatility. It's kind of a nice safety feature of the ETF. Let's give another example, like the S&P 500. It's probably the most famous ETF we have, and it's full of 500 of the 500 I believe best companies in the country at the moment. So when you invest into the the S&P 500, you're not only investing into that one company that you like that's in there. You're investing into those other 499. So even though you like Nike and Nike is in the S&P 500, if Nike goes under, you'll still be fine, because when you're investing into those ETFs, you're investing into those other companies as well. And it's kind of a safer route to go. It's almost as if I'm not gonna say it eliminates risk, but for some people, it just puts them more at ease if investing is a mental battle for you, to not want to feel like you don't have any control of where your money is going to go. So, ETFs are a great thing to do, a great way to invest. My favorite is the Triple Q. It's filled with a lot of big names such as Apple, Tesla, and a lot of big tech companies that are up and rising. It's filled with companies that make like microchips, things of that nature. And you look around, the world's steadily automating. So tech is only going to get bigger. It's going to get faster and more efficient. We're going to need more microchips. We're going to need to send signals faster and faster. We're going to, data, chips, automation. It sounds like a safe bet to me. So the Triple Q, as far as an ETF, I think it's a very safe route to invest in it, over the next 10 to, I'll say 30, 40 years, because automation and technology is growing by the second. So I think it's pretty safe. And so we'll back up a little bit and discuss, just kind of give a play on real estate. So with real estate, you may feel uncomfortable, spending all that money because, like I said, it's capital heavy. So it does require a nice nest egg to kind of get started sometimes. But, if that scares you away, then you can also explore real estate in the stock market. And so you can explore real estate in the stock market through what is called a REIT. And that is, the abbreviation is REIT, and it's a real estate investment trust. And what a REIT is basically are these big companies that own real estate, commercial rental properties, things of that nature, but they own these properties that they are renting, that, they are, basically, collecting rental payments. The appreciation is, going through the roof. So if you don't want to take on the risk of buying your own properties or physical properties or dealing with tenants or anything of that nature, you could invest into a REIT, which is, the same thing as a stock. You could buy a piece of a company that owns, multiple properties, several hundred acres of land, skyscrapers, commercial properties or whatnot. And that allows you to basically just play the investor role, to invest into that REIT. And, as they appreciate, the land and appreciate the buildings and add certain features and collect rents and as they look for other opportunities to expand within the country, hey, you're a part of the play. You know, you're not left out. You're not on the sideline. You're in the play without having to make all the big decisions. So, you know, it's another safe way to kind of invest and to take that mental stress off of you as far as, you know, thinking in your head, what should I do and how should I do it? And sometimes you can just kind of step back and, you know, invest into the stock market, you know, invest into these systems that already work. You know, Apple has proven and shown that, you know, they're going to keep growing. They know what to do. They have a well-oiled system. So if you don't want to create the next Apple, just invest in the one that already exists, you know, grab onto the coattail of that, you know, that train that's already moving. So, and that's, you know, that's pretty much stocks, you know. Well, as far as my take on it, you know, the parts that I like to explore, and you know, that just like I said, that's your blue chip stocks, that's your big names, the companies that aren't going anywhere, dividend stocks, which, you know, supply you a dividend usually every quarter, sometimes it's once a year. Your ETFs, which, like I said, is a safe, to me, a very safe route to go because it's it automatically diversifies your stock portfolio. Instead of you investing all into one company, when you get an ETF, usually you're buying 10 to, you know, 100, sometimes 1,000 companies at one time. You know, you might be buying a small piece of that company, but at the same time, you still can own several companies at the same time. And like I said, the REIT, which is a alternative to doing real estate by, you know, investing through the stock market into real estate so that you don't have to deal with tenants and physical properties and, you know, doing your due diligence and checking out land and dealing with contractors, things of that nature. So I believe all of those are pretty good routes. Like I said, though, it's always best to do your own research, kind of invest based upon what your comfort for risk is, because everybody doesn't feel comfortable when it comes to certain risk, or, you know, certain things don't sit well with them. So, you know, when it comes to stocks and especially real estate, invest based upon your comfort and risk level, you know. And if your comfort level is based on you just not knowing enough, then just read more. You know, try to learn more. Try to, you know, get rid of that discomfort that it comes to take when it comes to taking risks, because a lot of times that's what it is. It's just not knowing enough. You know, and even with myself, a lot of times when things seem scary, I just don't know enough about the topic, to be honest. You know, so always feed that brain. And, you know, if you want to get into investing, you know, just research what's best for you. What's best for me might not be best for you. What's best for you might not be best for me. So we'll move on. So the next topic that I would like to cover is cryptocurrency. So most of us as millennials, we're kind of hip to hearing about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and things of that nature. But I look at cryptocurrency as another good way to diversify your income. Because let's say you have that, you have your main job supplying most of your financial income. And like I said, you got the disposable income at the end of the year, at the end of the month. You want to put some, you know, in certain places. I think crypto is going to be a nice route to go in the future. Now, I will say crypto is decentralized, meaning it's like not backed by any banks. There's no middleman, if you will. There's no government kind of guiding the transactions. So that scares people away. That tends to scare a lot of people away. They see a lot of risk when they see that, when they see a lack of control by the government. But at the same time, it can actually be a beautiful thing, you know, if it's used correctly. So with cryptocurrency, think of it as basically, you know, digital money. So as the dollar keeps decreasing in value, inflation is still happening, like I said, every year, every second. So the dollar is steadily, you know, decreasing in value, meaning what a dollar will buy you today, may not buy you next week. So with that, cryptocurrency is looking to maybe be the next gold and kind of offset inflation. And what I mean is that it gives you basically another way to spend money digitally, you know, opposed to money. Whereas money is steadily losing value with cryptocurrency, a lot of people are starting to join the wave and get into it, because as well it's decentralized, so it's no control over it. So it can be another, route as far as investing your extra disposable income. Now, I will say cryptocurrency is kind of it's the little brother of the um, investment, family, I would say. So you may not want to go heavily into it. Bitcoin has shown to be, it being the most popular, it has shown to be pretty volatile. But at the same time, if you look at this 10-year, chart, it has shown growth. It has shown exponential growth. So just like I said, when you make that decision, kind of make it based on the amount of risk that you're willing to take, and I wouldn't go heavily into cryptocurrency, but if you've had that disposable income, I would say, put in 2 to 5% maybe in some cryptocurrency. To me, it probably wouldn't hurt, even if it was just, like I said, 2%. And that way, if it grows, that 2% goes up. But if, at the end of the day, if it goes to, it goes downward, that's just 2% of your portfolio. So, you're not really probably gonna lose everything based on that 2% going down. So, but look into cryptocurrency, look into Bitcoin. Bitcoin is very popular. Ethereum is really joining the ranks. And it was another one that I really like. Cannot remember the name of it. I think
Was
it
it
was
Dogecoin or
Yeah, those coins it's a little shaky.
Litecoin, or there's so
Yeah,
many.
I like Litecoin too. And see,
Mhm.
what's cool about the crypto is that a lot of these are getting used to, I believe, do like digital contracts. Like, see, I'm not a software engineer, so I can't break down the whole blockchain and stuff like that. So I'm gonna just kind of hover over it. But
Oh, you're doing great.
yeah, I would say to an extent, from what I understand, that it's gonna just allow the opportunity for us to make transactions without the bank being involved, and that can open up so many doors. Because when you think about it, if I'm in America and you're in Africa, but let's say you're in Africa and you can't get a business loan, nobody wants to give you a business loan. But with Bitcoin, I could, basically act as a bank. I could give you a loan using Bitcoin, write up a digital contract, have it looked over, notarized, have a lawyer check it out. And I could basically play the role of a bank globally, loan you that money, set the interest rate or whatnot, and then you pay me back, in that interest. That's whatever been decided. But what that does is give you, crypto kind of gives us as regular people the opportunity to play as a bank almost, to give out loans, to do peer-to-peer lending, to provide capital for places that might not have access to capital, places that can't just walk into a bank and get money. To me, crypto, it being decentralized and less controlled, is going to open the door for us to be able to provide resources without having to go through a million hands before it gets to the destination that it needs to get to. So that's what I do love about crypto. And I will say, just like I said, if you are looking forward to go long term, like I said, I would do your research. I wouldn't go all in on it. I would, make it 2 to 5% of your portfolio, something like that. That way, if it ever went down, if everybody just jumped off the wave, you would still be fine. But hey, with two, but if it jumped up and did a 10x, I mean, you still won, and like I said, it's just all kind of gonna be based on your comfort level. So, did you have any questions about?
Oh no, that was great.
Okay. And so I'll move on to another way to diversify your income: bonds. So bonds, us as millennials, we probably not that hip to bonds, but bonds are pretty. I mean, it's a pretty safe way. Most boomers, most older people, especially people who've been investing for a long time, they're probably pretty familiar with bonds. A lot of times, your 401k likes to use it as far as, put in that money that you store into your 401k, the people that are managing that fund usually will probably throw some bonds in there as well. And what a bond is, it's basically like you're buying, you're basically providing capital for either a project or a company, or sometimes, most of the times, the government. And that can be, so let's say the federal government wants to be, and this is just an example, but let's say the federal government is trying to add to the railroad system for the country. And what would that take? That'll take millions, probably billions of dollars. So if they don't have that extra money, they may, give out bond certificates. They might sell bond certificates, and what that does is allows you to basically let the government borrow money from you. You'll be able to buy that bond certificate, allow the government to buy money from you, and what they'll promise you is a certain rate of return. So that rate of return may not come, 5, 10, 20 years from now, but with the government being pretty stable and, their books being on the record pretty tightly and, heavily watched, that's a safe, that's a safe, that's a safe person to basically to lend your money to, is the government. It kind of doesn't get any safer as far as, doing a lending situation, because you could let, anybody borrow their money and they may run off. But the government is pretty good about sticking to its promises when it comes to finances and, paying back, the holders of bonds. So a bond can be a very lucrative way if you have the time and, you're kind of hip to those things. And like I said, the rate of return is usually not the most beautiful rate, but at the same time, it's the stability that people really like about it. So if you knew that your money was growing 3% every year for the next 20 years, that may sit more well with you than, trying the stock market where it could be up 17% next year, down 6% the next year, up 30% the next year. A lot of people may not like that roller coaster. So investing into bonds can be a very, safe way. It can be it's like taking a bus ride compared to the airplane. It's a lot more risk getting on an airplane, but you're going to get there faster. But you can still, you could walk from Mississippi to California. It might be a slow walk, but it's probably less risky than jumping in a car going 90 miles per hour or jumping in an airplane. I feel like some people look at investing like that when it comes to risk. They don't like the feeling of being on a roller coaster and not having control. So a bond can be a very, very good route to go. So let's go on to the next one. So another way that you can diversify your income, I spoke on this a little bit earlier, but using a high yield savings account. So this is not my favorite example of a way to diversify your income, but it is just like bonds, it's another way, and it's a pretty safe way. So most banks have high yield savings accounts, where you can basically disperse, however many dollars into that account every month, and at the end of the year, they're basically promising you a certain return. So usually, even with high yield savings account, the most you'll usually see for a return rate is like 1.5%, maybe 2% if you're lucky, and that's with a high yield savings account. Most savings accounts only provide usually less than 1%, let's say 0.07% usually, which is, it's like your money isn't specifically making you money, but I guess at least it's not losing value, excluding inflation, of course. But, if you're, like I said, if your comfort when it comes to risk is pretty low, you don't like anything or anybody playing with your money, you don't like taking chances, then a high yield savings account can be a good route for you. You could just save that money and, collect that APY that the bank is promising you on that account every year. And, like I said, that's not my favorite route to go, but, depending on your risk comfort, it can be a safer route to go. So, look into, I would say look into those. And like I spoke about earlier, I have a lot of friends, and I plan to do the same as well, but to start using blue chip stocks to be a high yield savings account instead, because I mean, if you pick the right companies, you could probably just about mimic whatever that high yield savings account is going to do for you, or whatever that bank is promising you. You could probably mimic that, with just a little knowledge about the stock market and certain blue chip companies. So, but like I said, look into it. It is a safer route to go, and it all just depends on your comfort when it comes to risk. And so let's get down to the last way that I'm going to discuss about diversifying your income, and that is good old entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship can be a multitude of things. It can be you selling a product, it can be you selling a service, it could be you just starting a small business, it could be you, transforming that side hustle. You've been making t-shirts for 5 years. I mean, that's entrepreneurship, but it's a way to diversify your income. And what I mean is that when you're getting your money from your main job, your main source of income, that is another way that you could take that disposable income, that leftover, that extra, and you could use that money as capital to, like I said, start a small business, sell a product, create a service. You could create a digital product. You could start a consulting business. You could, you could just take on using that extra money to, leverage it either into, making yourself better at a skill, or, selling a product, learning how to sell a product, starting a business. Or entrepreneurship just has so many facets to it. So, there's no one way to go. But it's definitely one of my favorites, because me being a creative, it allows me to take, extra disposable income and to leverage that capital into creating products, into selling services, into, just, I don't know, just, I mean, entrepreneurship is such a wide range, that you could explore. But yeah, and I could really probably expound on that more so when we do the questions. That way I can kind of, I want to pinpoint and make sure I'm answering the exact things you want to know about entrepreneurship. So we'll move on to my last slide, which is questions. So do we have any questions?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much, Warren. I think it's very important for people to learn about, financial, how to be financial savvy, and become experts at these things, especially in, communities that are often, this is not prevalent in. And so I think that, too, because you have a background in tech, as an engineer, it's important for us to learn that side of things too, the business side of stuff. And so this is pretty awesome. So I know that you actually have a book that you wrote, kind of combining all the things you talked about today, in order to, enrich the lives of younger people. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the book you're talking about is Brown Money. So I wrote Brown Money in 2019. And I always give this backstory just to kind of paint the picture of how it came to be. But 2019, I suffered an Achilles injury, tore my Achilles shooting basketball one day. So what that left me was just a crap load of time. I had nothing but time. I was in a boot. I'm used to going out and about, running the stores, traveling here, traveling there. But that made me, that made life kind of just slow down. So, with that time, I had a buddy come in town one weekend, and we were just talking about, he's like, man, so what you gonna do with all this time, And I'm like, well, man, I got this idea. I'm gonna paint this. I'm gonna do this. Because if any of my friends, if you talk to them, they'll tell you I'm always popping off the hip with a new idea, So they're like, well, man, you keep talking about that book, man. Go ahead and write that book. Go ahead and write the book, man. I'm tired of hearing you talk about it. Go ahead and write the book. So, man, he left out of town. I started on the book. We'll say by 5 o'clock that evening, I had half the book done. Man, 3 days later, had written the book. Took me about 2 to 3 weeks to do all the illustrations. I literally painted each illustration on canvas. I wanted to do them one at a time so I can make sure that I was, putting each message in there. But yeah, basically in that book, the main character, Jay, and then you have his father. So in the book, Jay basically aspires to become a professional athlete. He wants to be the next LeBron one day. He wants to be famous, be on TV, all those types of things. But his dad tells him, hey, well, that's all fine and well, but if your jump shot doesn't make it to that level, look into engineering, look into STEM, look into stock investing, look into vocational skills, look into trade school. That's not the only route you can go. We get on Instagram and see basketball highlights, and we see the glitz and the glamour, the Lamborghinis and the highlights, the ESPN highlights, the dunks and all that. So, and especially us as young Black males, we grew up thinking, oh man, so that's how I look cool. So that's how that's what I need to do. That's the route. That's the formula. And it's not the only formula. All of us are not going to become 6'5". All of us are not going to be 7 feet tall. And all of us may not be the best basketball, football players. So it doesn't hurt to kind of know about a few of the options that you'll have. So in the book, that's why I talk about STEM and investing and trades such as HVAC. I talk about stocks. I talk about real estate. I talk about becoming an engineer, being a scientist, things of that nature. And I, in the best way possible, I tried to break down a lot of those heavy topics, which are sometimes even heavy for adults. And I tried to paint pictures that were kind of, simplified to make sure that, the message didn't get lost at all. Because I'm a big advocate for like putting things into the simplest form possible. And that's how, that's how I look at complex things. If we can put it in small bites, then it's not as scary, so.
Right.
And that was the main goal for Brown Money, was to put that book together, give colored kids, all kids, of course, but especially colored kids, Black boys and girls of color, just the opportunity to see Black and brown individuals in a positive light in that book, being in STEM, talking about money and not being ashamed about it. And, just kind of giving you I guess kind of trying to reinvent the formula for what cool is,
Right. Yeah. And you can, I was gonna say, you could probably stop. I don't know if you're still sharing, but you could probably stop.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
For those of y'all just joining in, I know we had some technical difficulties earlier. I'm Dr. Nashley Cephas, founder of the Bean Path. We're here with Warren Wilson. He's been telling us all about these good financial tips on how to diversify your income. Now, I have to ask Warren. So I know I always said that I want every child coming out of school, out of high school, to know about real estate, finances, tech and coding, and self-care and mental health. And so this is great that you're engineer, you're an artist, you seem like you play sports too. And now you're please check out the Brown Money on YouTube. I watched it. It was so sweet. I mean, I just loved watching. I watched it a couple times. You can look at it. He has his illustrations and everything on there. It looks great. But we have to ask, like, how do you get from being an engineer to doing we saw you on the Instagram takeover. You have a dog, you got you got your artwork on there, you're working in tech, you have tech products that you sell. So how do you come out to do all of that? Like what inspired you, and how did you get from one career path to the other?
Okay, so I'll say overall what mainly inspires me is just I got a passion for seeing an idea come to life. Mm-hmm. So it's cool for me to one day think about something, and next thing I'm holding in my hand. Like that literally keeps me going. Like we could talk about a microwave one day, and if we're gonna actually put together the plan to go build it, I'm all on board, because I just love seeing an idea come to fruition. But I would say one thing that kind of fast forwarded my entrepreneurship path was and I always kind of tell this story, not to just be too personal, but at my previous job, before my current job, we experienced a layoff. So when I experienced that layoff, I had always kind of been a creative hustler, if you will. In high school, I, would design like clothes. I would paint on clothes, customize shoes. I would sell MP3 players, mix CDs, anything to make a dollar, So the hustler nature's kind of always been there. I've always loved selling something for low and, buying something for low, selling it for high. Mm-hmm. But when it came to my entrepreneurship goal, I would say my entrepreneurship path, I'll say that layoff really just kind of supercharged everything, because once I experienced that layoff, I was like, all right, I can't have this happen again. I gotta have multiple ways that the money is coming in. I need to get into starting some of these businesses. I need to stop sitting on ideas. I need to use this creativity that I got. At that time, I had did like 100 paintings, and I was like, man, I need to start designing these. I put them on book bags, T-shirts, whatever I can, whatever I can do to just kind of provide a lane for myself or income for myself that lines up with my strong suits. But man, that layoff definitely kind of just supercharged my entrepreneurship path, because I always wanted to basically just get that power back and not be able to let one source, just pull that rug, And I was just told myself, well, if or when this happens again, I'll be ready. I'll be ready. I'll have multiple things going. I want to have products, businesses, whatever I can do to make sure that I'm always generating some type of money, because nothing is promised. You can experience layoffs, you can get hurt. I could go into work, God forbid, but I can go into work next week and get hurt. And, it helps to have other incomes coming in, or to be able to digitally make money as well using your laptop or your computer or your phone. So, yeah, I'll say that definitely just kind of supercharged it. I grew up being that creative or whatnot. Then when I went to engineering school, that kind of just, I guess, find it out. I'll say it was more of I had a rougher surface when it was just before I went to college and engineering school, just being creative, liking to create. But once I went there and started learning like blueprints, seeing people do CAD, they taking this idea, next thing you know, they plotting it on a piece of graphing paper, and then next thing you know, it's graphing paper and it's moving on to a laptop and a software, and just seeing these ideas come to life and watching other people take it from a piece of paper to a physical product, that as well just kind of refined my whole way of thinking when it comes to creating and designing. But
wow.
Yeah, but I say that layoff just definitely supercharged.
I love it. That's a perfect way to take something that, was considered unfortunate at the time, and you really just took it and turned it around. So shout out to everybody. That's what we need to be doing. Like, you should be doing that even before the layoff. You should be doing
Right.
it. So I love it. And so I'm gonna skip now. We have some questions that have come in. I believe it's from Facebook. Could you really quickly excuse me, could you really quickly tell us again what blue chip stocks are and what REITs are?
Okay, so blue chip stocks, blue chip is just a nickname.
Okay.
So that's just a nickname that is used in the stock market. But blue chip stocks are your very well-known big name companies that are doing well, the companies that aren't going anywhere for the next 40 to 50 years. So you could think about Apple. Apple isn't going anywhere. Facebook probably isn't going anywhere. Tesla.
Amazon.
Yep, Amazon, they're not going anywhere. Google not going anywhere. So, those are your blue chips, the big boys in the industry, if you will, But yeah, those are your blue chips, just the big, well-known companies. And then a REITs, the REIT. A REIT is a real estate investment trust. And like I said, it's basically, it's very similar to a stock. So with a stock, let's say we have company ABC. They have 100 shares. You can buy one share, and at that point, you own 1/100th of that company. But with a REIT, you could get a company that owns real estate, a company that owns buildings, a company that has tenants already, a company that has acres of land. And if you don't want to go out and buy buildings and land and deal with tenants and rent the people, man, you could just buy a piece of that company that does own real estate and land. So while their land is appreciating, if they go buy 100 acres in California, and if it's worth 100,000 a day and it's worth 200,000 next year, if you own a piece of that REIT, you just made some money too. You was in on the play too. You didn't get left out. You don't have to just go on Google and read about it. You was in the play. without ever having to be in the room, without ever having to make a decision, you know. So it's
Wonderful. I learned something too there. So, all right, we got a couple more questions from the Facebook, then we'll switch over to the Zoom. This from Jennifer Smith. Is it best to buy a stock before or after a split?
in my opinion, it's my opinion. In my opinion, it is best to buy. I'm gonna say both. I'm gonna say either or.
It
And the reason
depends,
I'm gonna say,
probably, right?
yeah, I'm gonna say either or because I think Amazon stock is worth right now, like a share is worth like 3,000, something like that.
1,000 yeah.
So let's say I had a share of Amazon. Today is 3,000 and they do a split tomorrow. And now it's what's that, 3,000 by 4, it's 750 a piece. So let's say tomorrow they do a split. So now share is 750. But if I had a share the day before the split, now I got 4 shares. Because just like we said, Amazon is a blue chip. They're just about promise to grow. So now that I went from 1 share, I just turned my 1 share into 4 shares. And now if Amazon, now, okay, after the split, it may be $750, but as they grow, that share price is gonna go right back up. You know, it's gonna grow. So now the next time it grows, I have 4 pieces that are growing instead of my 1 piece that is growing. So I kind of like that aspect of it. You know, if it's a good company, to me, that, you know, lets you gain a bigger footprint. But at the same time, if you just getting in, if you get in after that split, that's a good chance to get something for a cheaper price. I mean, you know, it just depends on, I guess, your outlook of it. But I would say it's better probably get in before the split because to me you just see more benefit with it. Because if I had 20 shares and they do a split into 4 ways, my 20 shares just became 80 shares. So, you know, there's really no losing with that if you're dealing with a good company. So I would definitely probably say, I guess, before the split, but it could go either way.
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. So I think we have combined a couple of questions here. One from Teresa Wells and one from Madeline G. They're asking, what companies or apps would you suggest to invest in stock or with crypto, and something particularly for younger people like teenagers?
Okay. So for stocks, I would say if you were, and I'm not like a super expert, but at the same time, if you were like just getting into it, like you want to start this weekend, I would say Robinhood.
Okay,
Just
they
because,
mentioned,
yeah, Robinhood is like super simple interface. They got a lot of explainers throughout the app when you use it, so they really break down. Like when you do options on there, they're breaking it down, like what you're doing, what happens if this happened, what happens if that happened, and I mean it's pretty colorful. Same way iPhone, the display is just very easy to use. So I would say Robinhood, definitely if you're just getting into it. Now, as you kind of learn more and you kind of learn your way around the terminology of stocks, I would get into Thinkorswim. Thinkorswim is TD Ameritrade's app. It's pretty nice. I like the user display for that one. And then in Webull, Webull, that's another app where you can buy stocks and crypto as well. They just started adding crypto on there. And those are pretty much my favorite 3 to use. I do a little bit of day trading sometimes. So on Robinhood, the hours, you know, you can't start until like 8:30 in the morning and go until like 5. So, you know, that's a little shaky. But at the same time, all 3 of those will pretty much get the job done. And as for crypto, Robinhood, again, they let you buy cryptocurrency. I think they only carry a few. Webull, they just started carrying crypto like Dogecoin, Bitcoin, I think Ethereum. And then you can, of course, get the Coinbase app. They let you buy crypto instantaneously. I don't like their fees every time you make a purchase, but I mean, it's the quickest way to buy some. And then there's another app called Binance. It's like a black and yellow app, I believe, but that's Binance, Binance. And those are pretty much my go-tos on my phone.
Nice. We had a couple follow-up questions, and then we'll do one more before we leave out. Someone suggested TD, FID.
I see FinViz. What y'all know about FinViz?
Yeah, we got Miss CC. She actually asked, do you know of any stock investment clubs? And somebody else other asked, does Robinhood custodial accounts? Which I'm not sure it means,
I've
but
heard of custodial accounts, but I'm not really up to speed. But I'll say, since I saw FinViz, I see we got some day traders in here. So I'll say definitely FinViz will let you see, what stocks are up and down for the day. Webull has a built-in tracker that lets you see, the losers and gainers for that day, for that week. So that's a good route. Another website called StockTwits. It's kind of like a forum website, but it's similar to a Reddit for stocks. People kind of go on there and speak about, all right, hey, this company's got an earning report coming up, or hey, this company's about to do an IPO, things of that nature. So those are good sources as well. But yeah, FinViz, StockTwits, and then Webull's tracker, they have a built-in tracker. I would say of those three, man, you could learn a lot about what's going on the daily in the stock market, as far as who's winning, who's gaining, who's losing, what's the big news, who just did a merger, who's going
gotcha.
public, things of that nature. So
Wonderful. Yeah, we'll put some resources out when we send out our follow-up emails. Someone said check out Fidelity custodial accounts. Thank you, CC. Last question for you, Warren, as we come to a close, and then we're going to let you tell everybody how they can reach you. How do you balance staying focused on long-term goals while enjoying some of the fruits of the labor along the way? And that's from Janice Griffin.
okay. So how do I enjoy the one more time? You said how do I enjoy
The
the
fruits of the labor along the way, staying balanced and staying focused with the
okay.
long-term goals.
Let me see. How do I do that? I would say I I try to make sure I still enjoy the things of life, because like I'm very like business oriented. As soon as I wake up in the morning, of course I'm checking my phone, answering emails, check this app, check that app, answer this DM, answer that text. All right, then I still gotta get to work, do my stuff like that. So
Yep.
um, I would say how I balance that is kind of, for one, I've learned to give out certain tasks and start delegating. So as most entrepreneurs, we believe we can just do it all. Just because I can go make this presentation, don't mean I have to. Just because this needs to be done and we need those 5 things done to get the bigger picture done, that don't mean I have to. So I would say I've kind of fast forwarded my whole entrepreneurship journey by just learning how to get a team involved, learning how to get people involved. That'll free up your time. So that's a big key. So if I got something that needs to be typed up, I'm quick to ask somebody to go type it up. If that's gonna save me 4 hours, then So I would say, yeah, delegating certain tasks that I can pass on. That seems to kind of keep the work-life balance, pretty stable. That, and making sure that you're still enjoying stuff that you like to do. So if you like to listen to music for an hour before bed, do that. If you don't want to get out the bed, first thing you answering DMs, answering texts, don't do that. Within a reasonable way, do what needs to be done, but at the same time, don't ignore life.
Yeah.
And I'll say definitely my family, my fiance, and of course my little dog Ash, they kind of help, unplug me at times, because when I'm going, and they be like, hey man, take a break. You need to take a break. You need to take a break. And that is a big thing. So I would say, just my support system mostly, because I can't be on go mode all the time, but I have learned to kind of just delegate the tasks that I can give away, keep the bigger picture in mind. And, when you map out your 10-year goal, make itty bitty little goals that's going to basically promise you that you're going to get there. So if I want to learn how to drive a car a year from now, I probably need to pick up the driver's manual today. Halfway through, I probably need to get into a car, before I think about driving a year from now. So I would say that's another thing. Just break those goals down into itty bitty little daily, weekly tasks. And, it just makes things less scary. And it really, to me, it adds a lot of, peace to your life if you do it that way.
Awesome advice, Warren. Really quickly tell people how they can get in touch with you or share any information you want them to know about.
Oh, so you can get in touch with me by going to my website at www.warrenwilson.com. That's WARN Wilson.com. On there, you'll see updates about events I'm doing, books, products. I got an app I'm working on right now. You'll see card games, appearances, things of that nature. So that's a way to kind of stay in the loop to what I have going on and different projects that you'll see kind of rise to the surface in the next few months. And you can also catch me on Instagram at Warren Wilson, and that's WARN Wilson.
Thank you so much, y'all. And thank y'all for tuning in. By the way, we do have a free code we're giving you all for watching our session today. It is Junie Beans, JUNIEBEANS. If you want to use that code for our Bean Path store, you get 15% off and free shipping and checkout. So definitely today and tomorrow, you can use that Junie Beans. And all proceeds, of course, go to the Bean Path. So we appreciate y'all for supporting us. Thanks again, Warren. We really appreciate you, and thank y'all for tuning in, and y'all have a good one.
All right. Thanks for having me.